Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to another edition of Intunes Hop In. This is issue 20. Without further ado, how about we get right into our comic? Alright, so we got a couple of comics to talk about. How about we start off with our first comic, 9/11. This is a touching story. This graphic novel comes from Big City Comic Studio. It takes place back in 2001, the day the Twin Towers came down. We see the point of view by the hero, Snowflake, and the villain driver, and how they dealt with their losses of the people that they loved inside the building when it came down to help everybody that was inside the building. The author for this book is Jeff Kaufman. This book is pretty much touching. I've read it, and I'm going to quote exactly what he said. Probably not all of it, but I'm going to quote a nice chunk of it. So pretty much, this is what he said. For the past 10 years, I have been haunted by this book, not because I personally lost someone, but for the other reasons. Every month, the idea of writing this book forced its way into my head. I have never wanted to write a book less than this one. The horror and complete fear that surrounded me as I even contemplated the reality of writing this story was unbearable. There wasn't a single person in my life who thought this was a good idea. The truth is that this book is not for me. I can't imagine this making money or even having a chance to be to the next level. But that is not what this project is about. Now later on, within the same page of this graphic novel, he goes on to say that any money, if you choose to buy this book, goes towards all the charity that still happens, that are still around for 9/11 victims. Now this book came out in 2017. I want to say I got it around December or probably November of 2017. And you can check out their website. This is not the only comics that they have for this company, but they mainly focus on different things. You can all check it out when you visit their website. It's a very touching story, just to give a little bit of how each the two main characters that we're talking about and how they deal with it. Snowflake, who is a hero in the story, lost her husband. He went in the building to save lives, and unfortunately, he perished inside the building. Driver, which is normally a villain, he lost his ex-girlfriend or ex-wife inside the building. And on the day of the accident, they go try to save everybody. And when they come to realize that both of their loved ones have passed away, they put aside the differences of wanting to fight one another and to help one another. And throughout the course of the story, that's pretty much how it is. They're both dealing with the loss in two different ways. So again, definitely you should check out 9/11. Again, this comes from Big City Comic Studios. They have different comics in there. I've only managed to pick this one up and actually read it because I wanted to give it a shot and give it a try. So definitely go to the website, see if you can order this amazing graphic novel, or it might be in your comic book stores. Alright, we'll be moving on to our next comic. This comic comes from the company of Zenescope. Now, this is a comic book that I picked up, I want to roughly say probably late January, probably beginning February. The graphic novel is called Robyn Hood. Obviously, this is the origin story of her. From Zenescope, they do the Grimtale comics. So if you're familiar with Grimtale comics, and then this is where it comes from. So we pretty much pick up with from the beginning of her origins. We see that Robyn is from an alternate dimension, and she is pretty much set on Earth, placed on Earth because of her parents who were doing some very shady stuff. I believe they were part of some cult, and so the guy who defeated them, I want to say like a Marlin, he defeated them and took her from that dimension and brought her to our dimension, which is planet Earth. She was stuck with pretty much not good parenting. Grew up to only love her not biological mother and despise of the father because he was just always a drunk and he always saw the worst in both her and her mother. So she gets into a hustle and tussle with pretty much the rich kids and then the police, who are corrupt and work for the rich guy, who pretty much just gives her damage. And she at the same time, while that is happening on the dimension where she originally comes from, which is pretty much set back in the Dark Ages, there is a king who is just being horrible to his townsmen. And so she winds up getting pulled from Earth dimension and be pulled into that dimension, and she's pretty much set in the Robin Hood era of how she takes from the rich, gives to the poor, and looks out for them. So pretty much, if you've seen any Robin Hood movie or read any Robin Hood story, it's pretty much like that, but for a female, which is pretty bad. BA. I don't want to cuss. So, but just think of that type of Robin Hood, and also think of Green Arrow from the DC universe combined into one with a female character. She's a very strong character, and I love her origin story. Currently, right now, there's another Robin Hood story that's out, and it's the Robin Hood and the Curse. What's amazing about it is with Zenescope is that they let you know how long the series is going to last before they start a new story arc, and that is a little bit more simpler and a little bit more easier, especially if you're going to come and start reading comics. It'd be best to know where you're starting from. But Robin Hood Origin is definitely a good comic. I would definitely pick it up. If what I said doesn't sound amusing, trust my words for it. You can go check that out from Zenescope's their website, or go to your local comic book store and ask about it. We will be moving on to our last comic. So, yeah. Alright, so our last and final comic that we'll be talking about is Mr. Mircale, coming from DC. Now, this obviously came out, I want to say last month, like March last month, and I'm obviously late, but it's still great to get into it because you might not know that Mr. Mircale has a comic book out right now that's current and new. Pretty much issue 7, he is having a baby. Now you can find that out in issue 6, because Big Barda, while they're fighting to get to some type of castle to claim it, we find out that Big Barda is pregnant. She lets him know, and it's a funny way how she tells him they're pregnant. Like the whole time they're fighting, getting hit and hitting back, she's like, yeah, they're having a whole discussion about moving some things around, and you're like, well, why are you trying to move some stuff around? And it's all because I'm pregnant. So it was like a shock and a surprise to him. But that was issue 6. Issue 7, they are now in the hospital. Big Barda is on the bed to get ready to give birth. She's in, actually they pull up to the hospital, and one of the guys, I think like a valet, he was like, listen, you can't park your car here. And he's like, dude, like my wife is in labor. Can you get us to a bed, and can you go park my car? And he's like, I can't do that. Give him a whole big problem. Anyway, back to them being inside the bed. They finally get inside the room. Big Barda's on the bed. They're having a whole discussion. Next thing you know, Big Barda's sisters, the Fierce, I think that's what they call themselves, they pop up in the waiting room to show support for for her sister, for their sister who was about to give birth. And the whole time, he goes out there like, listen, before he says anything, they're like, we're not here to start a fight. We're here for our sister, to show her some support, because there hasn't been any babies born since the new gods, and that was a long time ago. So now that somebody out of them is having a baby, this is awesome and amazing. So one of the oldest sisters are like, listen, I had this knife. I was originally going to use it to kill you with, but there's no way that anybody can cut the biblical cord, with the regular scissors that the doctors use or whatever. And so she said, when the time comes and the baby comes out, use the knife to cut the umbilical cord. And so it was just funny because it's like she was dead serious. Because after Big Barda gives birth to the baby, they're trying to cut the umbilical cord, but they can't. And so he remembers to use the knife. He cuts it, and the baby is good and all that. And then he goes back out and says thank you. And she's like, yeah, no problem. But I told you I'm gonna kill you with this same knife. And so by the end of that, Mr. Mircale goes back into the to the room, sees the precious baby, sees Big Barda smiling, and then a boom tube happens, and they gotta go. He has to go out and fight because it's a whole thing with the Apocalypse and the new gods are fighting amongst one another, because Darkseid is no longer a problem, except for Darkseid is back now. But you can find that all out in Wonder Woman's comics, most recent issues. But if you guys want to talk about that, let me know down in the comment section below. Now, hop you guys right on in. Right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this issue 20 of Hop In. Now, I normally try not to make it a monthly thing. If you guys have some comic books that you want to talk about, definitely let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll definitely look into it if I've already read them, or if I haven't read them and you think it might be something cool for me to hop in and read for myself, and then relay it back on here so that other viewers can check it out. I definitely wouldn't mind that. But this is the only thing I do here on my channel. I also do Cavs Weekly Pool, which is every Wednesday or Thursday. Whenever I get to my comic book store, I show you what's new on the rack, and I show you what I take off the rack, and I also discuss with you guys about whatever we rant for that day. It can be about a TV show that I recently watched, a comic book that I recently read, a movie that I've recently watched, or if you guys have any suggestions that we can discuss, let me know down in this comment section below, or you can go definitely check out my recent video, Cavs Weekly Pool, and let me know in the comment sections there. I definitely would love to know your feedback on that. Also, what I do here on this channel, when the time presents itself, is unboxing and tunes, where I get certain items that I unbox here on this channel, and show you guys, so that you guys can go check it out for yourselves. And recently, or soon to be, because the weather is starting to become more nice here in Philadelphia, I will be going out bike riding and going on trips, and I'll probably be taking some shots, while riding, and we can discuss motorcycle. Definitely check out my previous videos of how to get into the comic book world, and also how to get into the motorcycle world. You can check that out if you visit my page. So please like, subscribe to this channel, and as always, I've been Kev, you've been you. Let's stay in tune.